Imagine waking up one day to find the world has completely collapsed. No cities, no power, no government, just silence, and the slow, distant groans of the undead drifting across the wasteland. Now imagine that wasteland isn't a forest or a suburb, it's the desert, a place already known for being one of the harshest environments on Earth. In this video, we're diving deep into a question most people overlook. Could you actually survive a zombie apocalypse in the desert? At first, it might sound impossible. No water, barely any food, constant heat, and miles of open ground with nowhere to hide. But the desert has a strange, unexpected twist that could give humans a major advantage. Zombies depend on the decay process, and decay needs moisture. Without it, undead bodies dry out. Joints stiffen, muscles crack, skin shrinks and hardens like dried leather. In extreme heat, some zombies might become so dried out they can barely move, turning the desert into a giant slow-motion trap for the undead. But that doesn't mean you're safe. Not even close. Humans need water, shade, minerals, calories. In the desert, those resources are so limited that dehydration becomes a bigger threat than any zombie. Temperatures can soar high enough to cause heat stroke in minutes and drop low enough at night to drain your body of warmth. Every mile you walk under the sun forces you to spend precious energy and water you can't easily replace. Survival here would come down to knowledge. How to find water in places most people overlook. How to travel without burning through your supplies. How to use the environment to slow down or even disable zombies. And how to avoid the biggest mistake of all, wandering aimlessly across endless sand with no real plan. So the real question becomes, in a world overrun by the undead, does the desert become your ultimate death trap or a natural fortress? Most people think zombies are the biggest danger in any apocalypse scenario. But in the desert, something else becomes the true villain, the environment itself. Before you even deal with a single undead creature, you're already fighting against dehydration, exhaustion, disorientation, and the brutal rhythm of desert heat. So to understand your chances of survival, you need to know exactly what you're up against. Let's start with the biggest threat of all, water. In a normal environment, a person can survive up to 3 days without it. In the desert, that number drops drastically. Under intense sun, you can lose over a liter of water per hour just by existing, simply breathing and sweating. And once the symptoms of dehydration kick in, dry mouth, dizziness, muscle cramps, confusion, you're already slipping into dangerous territory. If you keep going, your body temperature rises, your blood thickens, and your organs start to fail. Now imagine all of that happening while zombies are still somewhere out there, shambling around or closing in on any sound or movement you make. The next challenge is heat management. Most newcomers to desert survival make a fatal mistake. They move during the day. The desert sun doesn't just drain your water, it drains your strength. Temperatures can climb high enough to cause heat stroke in less than an hour. You might think you're tough, but once heat stroke hits, your coordination drops, your vision blurs, and you lose the ability to think clearly. In a zombie-infested environment, that's basically a guaranteed death sentence. That's why experienced desert survivors flip the schedule. Rest during the day. Move at night. It feels unnatural, but it's the only way to preserve energy and avoid becoming a sun-roasted snack. Then there's navigation, an underestimated killer. Without clear landmarks, everything begins to look the same. Dunes, rocks, sand, more dunes. Even experienced hikers can get turned around with just a few steps off their intended route. In an apocalypse where GPS is gone and maps may be outdated or unreliable, one wrong direction can send you wandering deeper into the desert without even noticing. Once you're lost, every mistake costs water, time, and energy, resources you cannot afford to waste. And the longer you roam aimlessly, the higher the risk of stumbling into undead clusters hiding in shaded ruins or abandoned vehicles. But here's the interesting part. Zombies are also controlled by instinct, not strategy. They follow noise, movement, and scent. In a wide open desert, where sound travels far and there's nothing to hide behind, they're actually at a disadvantage. There's no place for a zombie to sneak up on you. No alleyways, no dark hallways, no cramped rooms. You'll usually see them coming from a distance. However, that brings up another danger, the mirage of safety. Just because zombies are spread out doesn't mean you're in the clear. Deserts contain abandoned towns, collapsed gas stations, old mines, and small pockets of shade, and these become perfect gathering points for the undead. Any place that once held people during the apocalypse becomes a potential hotspot. So survival becomes a delicate balance. You avoid the sun, avoid dehydration, avoid getting lost, and still avoid areas where humans once gathered, because those spots might still be crawling with zombies. One wrong decision and the desert doesn't just beat you, it buries you. Surviving a zombie apocalypse in the desert isn't just about staying alive day to day. It's about understanding long-term strategy, how to build routines, how to manage resources, and how to take advantage of an environment designed to break humans long before it breaks zombies. Let's start with the most important element of long-term survival: finding and protecting a water source. Most deserts aren't completely dry, they're just incredibly stingy with water. If you know what to look for, you might find life-saving clues: green vegetation indicating underground moisture, dry riverbeds that sometimes hold pockets of water beneath the surface, or old infrastructure like irrigation systems, cattle troughs, or abandoned wells. Even man-made structures like water towers in ghost towns could still contain drinkable, or at least purifiable, water. But here's the twist: any reliable water source will attract everything, including zombies. Even if they don't need water, they follow movement, scents, and sounds. So if you find water, the challenge isn't just having it, it's defending it. This means staying silent, avoiding unnecessary noise, and setting up a small perimeter using natural terrain features like boulders, cliffs, or ruined buildings. Next comes shelter, which is harder to find than water. Shade is vital, but anything that provides shade, abandoned gas stations, supply depots, broken down vehicles, is also potential zombie territory. The safest shelters in a desert apocalypse are often unconventional. Ravines, shallow caves, large rock overhangs, or even holes dug into the sand with insulating layers to trap cool night air. You're not building a home, you're building a place to avoid the sun, stay hidden, and preserve energy. In this environment, survival becomes less about comfort and more about strategic minimalism. Now let's talk food, because even if water is your top priority, you still need calories. Desert plants like prickly pear cactus, mesquite beans, and agave can keep you alive if you know how to harvest them safely. Small animals like lizards or rodents might be rare, but they're still potential protein sources. Meanwhile, anything scavenged from abandoned structures, canned food, dried goods, emergency rations, is a treasure. The real obstacle is conserving the calories you do have. The more you move, the more you sweat, the more you burn through your food stores. That's why desert survival relies on a very calculated routine. Stay still during heat peaks, travel in the cooler hours, eat sparingly and smartly, never waste energy unless it's necessary. Then comes zombie awareness, which changes drastically in this environment. Unlike forests or cities where zombies can lurk behind every corner, the desert exposes them. You can spot lone undead wanderers from far away, giving you time to avoid them entirely. But the danger lies in clusters. Groups seeking shade under highway bridges, inside abandoned homes, or taking refuge in wrecked vehicles. These pockets can be deadly, especially if you approach them at night when visibility is low. It's crucial to develop zombie avoidance strategies like listening for unusual wind patterns or groans carried by desert air, using ridges and dunes to hide your silhouette, and never approaching a structure until you've silently observed it from multiple angles. But even with all of this, water, shelter, food, awareness, there's one final challenge: mental survival. The desert is quiet, too quiet. Days blend into each other. Nights stretch on endlessly. The isolation becomes heavy. Without a group, you face the psychological weight of being alone in a dead world with only the sun and the sand to keep you company. Many survivors wouldn't fall to zombies, they'd fall to despair, confusion, or poor judgment caused by exhaustion and fear. So, can you survive a zombie apocalypse in the desert? The answer is complicated. If you know desert survival techniques, if you understand how zombies weaken in this climate, if you conserve resources, move intelligently, and stay alert, then yes, the desert might actually give you a better chance than crowded cities or infected forests. But without knowledge, preparation, or discipline, the desert becomes a slow, quiet executioner. You won't hear it coming. You won't see it coming. It just takes your water, your energy, your sense of direction, and eventually, your life. Surviving a zombie apocalypse in the desert isn't just about fighting the undead. It's about battling nature, understanding the land, and mastering strategy in one of the harshest environments on the planet. The desert can be your greatest enemy or your most unexpected ally. It all depends on how prepared you are, how well you adapt, and how much knowledge you bring with you. So as we wrap up, ask yourself, if the world ended tomorrow and all you had was sand, heat, and silence, would you know what to do? Could you find water? Could you navigate the dunes? Could you outlast the undead long enough to see another sunrise? In the end, the real question isn't whether the desert is survivable, it's whether you are the kind of person who could endure it. If today's deep dive got you thinking, then consider exploring more survival breakdowns like this one. There's a lot more to uncover about how different environments shape your chances in an apocalypse. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share if you want more videos on survival science, apocalypse scenarios, and the hidden strategies that might just keep you alive when everything else falls apart. Thanks for watching. Stay alert, stay smart, and stay alive.